Okay, we're set to go. Okay, perfect. We're going to call the meeting to order at 5:29. All right, establish quorum. We're all here. You have us all now? Perfect. We have Galen on Zoom. All right, so we have certification of compliance with the open meeting law. Doors open. Y'all are here, right? Great. Moving on. Okay, so we're going to jump right into public comments. Up first, I have Joe Box.
At the last Phillips Library Board meeting, Director Poole stated that families used to come in and check out 40 books at a time, but they don't anymore. As a director, has Rebecca Poole reached out to the families to see why they have stopped using the library? My guess is no, because she does not want to know. Sadly, we all know something Director Poole refuses to accept. The community and parents in particular do not feel comfortable bringing their children to this library as long as Jake and Becky continue to push and provide sexually explicit and pornographic material to our children. Now later tonight, she's going to try and explain away that she moved the book to adult and blame me for not challenging it. Again, I asked, why was this book in YA and why was this book in our collection at all? I'm going to say this again because no one else will. Parents in our community do not feel safe with their children in this library with Jake and Rebecca as directors. Look at the children's programming. They are poorly attended and failing. She's going to try and deflect and turn this into a definition argument about pornography. But two characters performing oral sex on each other is porn. If she can't see that, then I think we all understand the problem. Parents in our community will never return to this library with their children as long as Director Poole and Jake continue their assault on our community. They have divided our community, and until this problem is resolved, circulation will decrease, so funding will continue to decrease, and I would hope that the county and city would reallocate funds to other departments that are thriving and supporting our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have Lynn Wills.
Yes. Members of the board, I'm Lynn Boers, and I have attempted to state my concerns over the slippery slope currently being navigated by Ms. Poole and some concurring members of the board. At the Phillips City Council meeting last week, Ms. Poole repeatedly called those of us who have brought our concerns to these board meetings haters of her personally. I can speak for myself that I do not talk in hate speech, and I never will. But I do speak out against the immoral and pornographic books Ms. Poole believes belong on our public library shelves. I have every right to disagree and to express my heartfelt and Christian concerns over disgusting and sexually explicit children's books. Ms. Poole even stated that she has nothing pornographic in her library, and yet our county board chairman would not allow portions from one of these books to be read out loud, stating we can't have that language read out loud at our meeting. If adults can't repeat excerpts from a children's book, then am I wrong to feel that books of this nature have no place in our or my library? I do not hate Ms. Poole, but I am passionate about my God-given right to stand up against issues that hurt our children and grandchildren. I ask that the board consider taking steps to address these issues and give needed correction to Ms. Poole. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Up next, we have Eric Can. Does that sound right?
No.
Perfect.
Good evening. I'm Mayor Ken, and over the past few months I've been aware of the unacceptable direction Ms. Poole is taking our public library. It seems to me that it's time for the board to step up to the plate and give some needed guidance. Ms. Poole continues to state that she is not responsible for the direction of the library, but instead states that she operates under the board's direction. If this is true, then I am deeply troubled, as the attack on morals and values, especially when it affects our impressionable and innocent children, should not be happening. I do not see this as an issue of free speech being violated, nor is it an issue relating to politics, as Ms. Poole has stated. When a message was sent over Facebook last month asking for support for Ms. Poole, it was specifically sent out to the members of the Democratic Party of Price County. My political affiliation has no bearing on my concerns here tonight. I stand on the side of moral values and what is good and appropriate when it comes to our children. Again, I want the board to stand firmly against the director's dangerous assault and negative direction she continues to champion regarding our children and our grandchildren. Mark, Jennifer, Bruce, Christy, Brian, and anybody else, you guys got to see this as pornographic. You have to. I mean, I don't know how you can't. I don't know how the board cannot see that this is pornographic and not for our children. And I don't want it. I'm not saying I'm banning the book. I just don't want it in my library. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Next we have Austin Midnight.
Howdy.
Hi there.
Merriam-Webster definition of pornography: the depiction of erotic behavior as in pictures or writing intended to cause sexual excitement. You may say the dictionary says intended to cause, and that this book is intended for education, not to cause sexual excitement. It's normal for teens to be sexually curious. However, they do not have the experience or knowledge to compare the graphic material they come across. The result is that the material can end up being a teaching tool, influencing their actions, potentially leading them to do things they regret in the long run. Exposure to sexual content at a young age can lead to risky sexual behavior, unsafe sex, multiple sexual partners. This exposure may cause trauma, impaired social and interpersonal development, damage to moral compass, leading to acts of rape, molestation, and sexual violence against others in an attempt to get what they want out of what they've seen. Transmitted infections, sexual exploitation, interference with healthy sexual development. Pedophiles often expose children to content in order to groom and abuse them, something often done to them at a young age. The author of this book was the second most banned author in school districts in 2021 and 22, banned from 41 individual school districts because of the sexually explicit images and language used in this book. I have all my sources cited, including the department that tracks registered pedophiles, if you would like to see that. If my children came to this library and they brought this book home, I would not be mad at my children, and we would not be here right now. We would be in the court of law.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
I'll second that. And take her out to the alley.
Giving Jenny a moment to type away as she's doing the hard work for us here. Okay. Up next we have Chitty Struggle.
Mine's short. It's important for a local library to reflect the values of the majority of the taxpayers rather than the National Library Association's agenda. It's hard for me to believe that people supporting the director are also supporting a filthy book placed in the hands of children. The public propaganda that should be addressed is calling people who are trying to protect children from hypersexualization and manipulation book banners. They are spreading it around. People who would never have exposed their children to these books found in the Phillips Public Library won't even look at them, but call it book banning. I really don't care if adults want to see this book, but kids need protection from it.
Hey.
I said mine was short.
You were right, it was. Next up we have Shirley Smith.
I want to talk about bullying. In February, Next Benedict, a non-binary teenager, was found dead at home the day after being beaten in the school bathroom. According to the Oklahoma Medical Examiner's Office, Benedict died by suicide. Here in Phillips, Mr. Fox and his friends object to the entire topic of LGBTQ, but they don't want to raise their objections one book at a time using the library's formal process. The tactic they have settled on is trying to bully the librarians into doing their censoring for them by making them fear for their job security. Genderqueer is sexually explicit, but it does not fit the definition of porn as sexual situations with no other redeeming features. The American Library Association's page of reviews of Genderqueer makes it clear that the book does have redeeming features. It is an award-winning book intended for older teens, and I have the handout for you.
Can you read yourself?
Can you just pass it
Mm-hmm.
on? Yeah. Don't want to take my time doing that.
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
When Mr. Fox decided that he didn't think the book Genderqueer belonged in the young adult section, he didn't seek the simplest resolution, talking to the librarian. He didn't fill out the form to challenge the book. He made copies of pictures from the book, distributing them at meetings of the county board, library board, and city government, while giving a dramatic reading of the passage he considers porn. If he thinks it's porn, he's done more to distribute it than the library has. At the city meeting, when he didn't get the response he was hoping for, he let the mayor know that he was not happy with the mayor and the library board members the mayor had appointed. The mayor and these board members should expect to be the next victims of bullying by Fox and his friends. The death of Next Benedict shows why books on the topic of LGBTQ do belong in the young adult section. LGBTQ teens should have books available to them to help them deal with sexual identity issues. LGBTQ teens should have books available to them to help them deal with bullying and keep them from committing suicide. Every teen should have books available to them to teach them not to bully. This attempt to bully the librarians is also an attempt to bully every Phillips Public Library patron of every age. Having the most bodies or the loudest voices at a public meeting does not mean that the majority of people in this community are willing to submit to these bullies. The idea is un-American, and the people of this community are depending on the library board to protect them from these bullies.
I'm Janina Bay, from Catawba, and I'd like it noted that we have never called anybody names. Shirley's information is wholly inaccurate. She's the one who has just been labeling people. Also, she does need to go back and check the coroner's report on next, because the information you just reported is inaccurate. So I want the rest of the board to know, if it wasn't passed along, that I did request an open records request regarding the item new business number 3 on your agenda. The board's response to public propaganda, particularly who is inserting the word propaganda, because it seems to be a little bit swaying. So first, we probably need to define propaganda. Is it just defined as a collective group's beliefs, or is it defined as false information meant to effect a false emotional belief or a false emotional response? That needs to be clear, and I don't believe it's clear on the agenda. Regardless if it's a collective group's beliefs, I believe it's directed towards